Sitting on my bedroom floor, feeling so alone. Black out all the windows and disconnect the phone. No one calls me anyways, no one even cares. I could disappear like a ghost in a graveyard. Open up the dresser drawer where I keep my gun. The cold black steel looks up at me like shadows at the sun. I load it up with bullets and I down a glass of rum. It burns my throat, but that's okay, 'cause it numbs the pain. Crying like a newborn child, my hands they shake with fear. I think it's what I have to do, but I'm not thinking clear. I close my eyes and count to 3 and draw one final breath. Then I put the handgun in my mouth, and guess what happens next? I suck the gun like a dick. 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 Gobble, 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 yum, 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 yum. I want this 38 to shoot a load across my tongue. My troubles are forgotten, 'cause I'm having so much fun sucking this gun like a dick.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Give us one damn moment here to get Jables in, and he is here. Jables, say hello.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Lesser Saints of Discord. Your pre-show to the YouTube Saints. YouTube Saints generally start around 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This is where we talk about things involving Discord. Waffle and myself, Jables, are both mods. So
we know things,
updates.
And we have power, and that's dangerous.
Yes. Unfortunately, Anna left the band hammer in New Hampshire, but whatever.
Oh, don't worry. We have ways. We also have top men. Don't worry about it. In any case, it is lovely to be on the air and talking to all of you. We have a few news stories to talk about, almost none of which have anything to do with the Discord. Because today, or this week, has been a fairly slow week, so we're going to have some fun. Also, yes, definitely make sure the gun is unloaded and the safety is on before you suck a gun like a dick. This is important. Gun safety and gun dick sucking safety is they're both tremendously important. You have to practice safe oral sex with your gun.
Yes, keep your finger off the trigger too. Trigger control is very important.
So let's just go ahead and hop right in. First off, by talking about, well, the Olympics. By which I mean, I haven't been paying attention to the Olympics. I know that they started. Apparently these are the winter ones, because apparently I can't keep increments of 2 years straight in my head. But I have always found the Winter Olympics to be slightly more entertaining than the Summer Olympics. Not because, well, the feats of athleticism are that much more spectacular, but it's more because of the existence of curling as an Olympic sport. I love curling. Not I would say it's ironic, but it's not. It's a more boring, more coordinated version of shuffleboard on ice for a very strange point scoring mechanism, and someone decided that's
what I was gonna say. It's just icy shuffleboard with extreme janitorial experience.
Yes, exactly. But extreme janitorial experience. And granted, showing off your ability to sweep, I mean, that's a big deal. But I'm trying to understand, and failing, and have been for years and years and years, how this sport is the one that shows the true prowess of an athlete, where a nation could say, you know what? You may be the best at running, and you may be the best at gymnastics, and you may be the best at one of the other sports. Jumping, I think that's one of them. Maybe lifting the heavy thing. Either way, you may be the best at all of these, but we have a janitorial team on ice.
Yes.
This confuses me.
Yes. Also, just slide around on slippery things without falling over. That's the Winter Olympics in a nutshell.
Except the gymnastics portion, where in the gymnastics portion is you watch a bunch of rather attractive individuals, in very tight clothing, perform incredible bodily feats, and then you realize that they're all 16, and then you feel very, very strange.
Is that it? That's not in the Winter Olympics.
Gymnastics is in both of them.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You can do it indoors.
I never pay attention to the Olympics.
But yes, remember, all of those Olympic athletes, especially very, very much especially the gymnasts, tend to be underage, so think about that before you watch those floor routines.
I got $20 on Canada winning the hockey matches.
I don't know, man. What if Russia just comes out of nowhere and decides to just dethrone Canada? That'd be lovely.
Wait, wasn't Russia there on some sort of restrictive shit after the last Winter Olympics when everybody found out everybody was doping up?
That's entirely possible. I honestly don't remember. I mean, there was the China doping scandal wherein everyone was doing mushrooms and it actually wasn't illegal. That's a thing. Look it up. Squiggums knows what I'm talking about. But that was 95, I think. Or no, that would be 94? I don't remember. We've established my memory is not great for these things.
See, Pick 33 wants us not to forget the homoerotic dance interpretation on ice.
Yes, which apparently won Anime of the Year last year. Also, edgiest show of the year last year. Homoerotic dance is extremely edgy. Extremely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gig Up. I'm going to steal your jokes incessantly because I can. And you can't stop me. Ha. So
it's our show. Get fucked.
Yeah. So unfortunately for the Olympics, we just can't really cover them too much. And while I'm sure several of the people in Discord looking at you, Brad, want to hear me really talk about sport ball and all the scoring of goal points, during triple threats and penalty throws and people's putting game in the glorious game of soccer. Well, I'm sure that you all definitely want to hear about that. I'm going to spare you because that's a little bit too much.
Yeah, Waffle gets real technical about the sports.
Extremely. I know all about the goal points. I mean, do you know how many baskets you need to score to win a game of, flag football? Because I do.
I don't know myself.
Sorry, I'm watching Brad get triggered in the chat, and it is absolutely lovely.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead.
Brad, we love you.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hop us over to our. Let's see. I can do this. I can do production. Jeff, I don't need your help yet. I will, but not yet. And we're gonna go ahead and just do that.
Oh, are we going into Trumpy Bear?
Yeah, we're going into Trumpy Bear.
Yeah, so guys, this is an actual commercial that you can see on regular television. This is not a skit. This is not anything like that. This is an actual product that you can buy, and this is an actual commercial that's on.
Yep.
And it's fucking hilarious. And if you guys want to send one to me, DM me, and I will send you an address to send it to.
I would not mind a Trumpy Bear, though I think it might get me murdered by some of my coworkers, though other coworkers would rise up to protect me and nominate me as their king, which could be interesting. You know what, on second thought, if you want to send me a Trumpy Bear, go right ahead.
Do it.
I'm going to
there's an excellent perk in there that you guys will see.
Alright. So, without further ado, Trumpy Bear.
The wind whispered through the forest. A storm is coming. You cannot defeat the storm. From the trees rose a resounding voice. I fear nothing. I come when the trumpet sounds. I am the storm, the great American grizzly. Introducing the original Trumpy Bear, the fearless, super plush American grizzly. Trumpy Bear was born June 14th, Flag Day. Beautiful. Just find the secret zipper and pull out the flag blanket. Then wrap yourself.
I I'd just like to say, if you have a significant other, don't try to find their secret zipper. That ends very poorly. On second thought, if you have anyone you care about, please don't try to find their secret zipper.
No,
you might think it sounds entertaining, but trust me, it is not entertaining in the way you want it to be.
Well, yeah, well, I had the personal experience. I had a girlfriend that was actually a reptilian. I did find the zipper, and it was not pleasant. She tried to inject her eggs in my eye.
Sorry, where did she try to inject her eggs? I heard either eyes or ass, and I'm not sure which one is more disturbing.
Abdomen.
Abdomen. Okay, so ass. Either way, yes, that is quite unfortunate. I'm sure it was a globalist plot. You should have been wearing more tinfoil. Also consuming more lead. Lead would definitely have helped with that. And soy.
I don't take enough those Alex Jones supplements to get enough lead in my system.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you're not getting your recommended daily amount. You know, your
Alex Jones Superman Vitality.
Yeah, exactly. Your Superman Vitality recommended daily amount of lead and soy. Back to Trumpy.
In the red, white, and blue for comfort and warmth. Show your patriotism and proudly display Trumpy on Flag Day and on any American holiday. Trumpy can even honor your own family heroes.
God bless America, and God bless Trumpy Bear.
Trumpy Bear sits proudly at the front of the motorcycle for all the world to see and loves to cruise with his brother.
I'm a former Marine, and I'm proud to have Trumpy Bear ride by my side. Once a Marine, always a Marine.
Everyone knows Trumpy Bear loves to go to the golf course.
When I ride with Trumpy Bear, he makes my golf game great again. Thank you, Trumpy Bear.
Simply style his trademark hair and place him in his
game
favorite chair. Even the toughest guys will love Trumpy Bear.
When America is great, business is great. When business is great, I am great. I love you, Trumpy Bear.
I am an Army veteran. I am proud to own the Trumpy Bear, and I will always be proud to be an American.
Yes. I like that freeze frame. That is actually a fairly solid pause game, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yes, I will toot my own horn.
Rewind that a little bit. Look at this guy's name. This is how you know it's a fucking comedy sketch. It's not just a regular advertisement.
I will always be the Trumpy Bear.
Hold on. Oh, God. I definitely know what I'm doing.
I am an Army...
Frank Warholic.
Warholic. Like an alcoholic for war. Yes.
The thing is, I actually believe that is a name. I totally do. I've met people with stranger names.
I strongly disagree.
Well,
this is how you know this is a comedy sketch phrased as a commercial.
No, you say that.
This is something you would see on Saturday Night Live in the 70s.
You do say that, but we only just recently exposed everybody to the glory of Brad Warcock.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's probably a fake name too. That guy's awesome.
Are you sure? You know, back in my hometown, there's a urologist named Dr. Cockburn. He insists it's not pronounced that way, but I don't believe him. So, yeah these names exist. Well, it's glorious.
Yeah, my mom did have a teacher whose name was Milo Ball.
In any case, back to Trumpy Bear once more.
Yeah.
I am proud to own the Trumpy Bear, and I will always be proud to be an American.
Order the Super Plus Trumpy Bear for only 2 payments of $19.95 and receive a special certificate of authenticity.
But wait, there's more! For only 2 payments of $19.95. Sorry, this is really giving me some Billy Mays vibes, but it's not energetic enough. There is not nearly enough cocaine involved.
Press F to pay respects to Billy Mays.
And also press F to pay respects to Trumpy Bear. I mean, Trumpy Bear's not dead, but it seems like he deserves some respect. Just saying.
Oh, no, yeah.
Don't miss out on owning a piece of American history. Order now for only 2 payments of $19.95. Trumpy, the most fearless bear anywhere.
Yeah,
Order
thanks,
now.
guys. See, Tug, fuck your G.
Yep.
So yeah,
kind of looks like Trumpy Bear does it all. Makes your golf game good. Has
comes
a blanket.
With the American flag. Yep, comes with the blanket.
The only way that could be better is if instead of just being an American flag blanket, it was an American flag snuggie. I'm really disappointed that they didn't do this. That would have been glorious.
Okay, everybody, go to the website where they sell Trumpy Bear and start adding in recommendations in their customer service shit.
We will put the link in the description.
Yeah, well, we'll put the link in the description after this. It needs to be an American flag Snuggie.
Definitely an American flag Snuggie. Trying to think of what other goodies we could have in there. Maybe you could get Trumpy Bear with matching toupee.
Well, no, he has the hair.
Yeah, but if you don't have the hair, then you need a toupee to match the hair.
Oh, okay, yourself. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So instead, it's not a wig. It's not like a wig that covers anything up. You shave yourself bald in dedication, and then you wear a toupee so that you can match Trumpy Bear.
All right. Get it.
That sounds reasonable. I think that sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Little history lesson, guys. Teddy Bear was actually after Theodore Roosevelt because he was a fucking beast of a man. And they were giving children bears as toys, and that's how Teddy Bear was.
Yeah, it was, if I remember correctly, it was a mom and pop effort. They just kind of made the bear for the first time around, and then they wanted to name it after Teddy. And they sent one to him, and he kind of fell in love with it, and was like, "Yes, absolutely, do this. It'll be great." Or alternatively, he absolutely hated it, and they did it anyway. And I don't know which story is true.
However, Teddy Roosevelt was a fucking.
Ooh, Wild Fat. Good one. Trumpy Bear, now with miniature wall replica. I want to see that.
Oh, yes.
Do it. Ladies and gentlemen, ask them to add a wall in with the Trumpy Bear. And, I don't know, something else.
American flag Snuggie and a little wall replica.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. And then
with some border agent action figures.
Yes! Perfect. Beautiful. Oh man, this Trumpy Bear thing, all these variants is going to be huge. It's going to be great. There needs to be a huge Trumpy Bear too that you can.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be magnificent. Exactly. It's the best bear around.
Yeah, I haven't sing the national anthem, but like pause at strange moments and interject things. Oh, a wall body pillow. Yes, Wyo. Perfect. I like that.
What's a wall body pillow?
Well, no, it's a body pillow of the wall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking like a body pillow. I was thinking like a body pillow the size of a wall.
Yeah, and if that
because it would be huge.
Yeah, it would be huge, but like if that body pillow is not, extremely crusty within a week of you owning it, and that applies for you too, ladies. I don't know how you do it, but you'll do it. If that is not extremely crusty somehow, you clearly just don't love America.
I know a little bit about female.
I'm just saying. If you don't make that wall completely crusty and rigid and rock hard with your own fucking like devotion and love to it, then you just don't love America enough. And Trumpy Bear will then gaze down, judgy at you, and he's just gonna look at you. He's like, sad, low energy. It's beautiful. I can see it now. I don't want to, but I can see it. This is unfortunate. Save me from this, Jables. Where are we going from here?
We're leaving the fucking planet. That's where we're going.
We are leaving the planet. Okay, I can do something with that.
All right. We're gonna talk about Elon Musk a little bit.
Yep, we're gonna bring up Elon Musk's beautiful, beautiful failure, and it truly is that. So,
well, I wouldn't call it a complete failure.
Oh, okay, yeah. Getting things into space in general is great, but shall I just go ahead and, hit play on this video, let them explain it, and then let us yell about it and everything they get wrong?
Yeah, well, I have a ton of shit to say about this. But
all right,
yeah,
then I'll hit play, and then you can take it away.
Well, playing.
So I think we can say that the SpaceX rocket can indeed lift.
Yeah. Well,
pretty swole. It can hit the gym.
It's a heavyweight rocket.
Yeah.
So it lifts hard.
So I'm a little disappointed that this Starman was not a Stig.
Well, I have a theory that Elon Musk actually had a dead body in the trunk of that car.
I mean, it could definitely lift that if it could lift an entire 737 jetliner.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing about this is that he created a whole way to have a heavy-duty rocket to lift certain things and launch them into space in a certain direction. And nice, and it had a good rocket ship.
Very good rocket ship.
Nice, good laser beams. But he created a super efficient way to have a heavy-duty rocket to lift really heavy things into space.
Absolutely,
and it's the first of its kind. However, and the car was actually just to get people to pay attention.
Right, because after all, what is SpaceX going to do but launch Tesla into space?
Center core landing burn is started.
Because, yeah, fuck it.
Ooh, they're saying things. Oh, never mind, they're not saying things anymore. That's unfortunate.
Oh.
We lost the center core.
No, Wildfed, I didn't see that. That's fucking hilarious.
Oh, beautiful. Tommy Wiseau is a fucking gem. He is a lovely, lovely human being. And
hi, Mars.
Yeah, I would love to have him.
Here's the thing. It was supposed to go to Mars, but he fucking missed. He fucking missed. He overshot, and it wasn't able to orbit around Mars, which means that if there is another intelligent life out there with spaceships, there is a possibility that they will fucking hate us because this is just going to come rocketing into their ship.
This is entirely possible. See, what worries me about this is not so much that, but you know the sort of hypothetical teapot in space, where there could be a teapot floating between the moon and Earth, and if it exists, it doesn't matter because no one would know. Well, we know that there's a car up there now.
Well, that's how you fight against like the special pleading argument.
Yeah, it is. But now that there absolutely is a car, and we know that, so apparently God's real. I don't know. Somebody find a way to make that argument work. I want to see that. If no one comes up with it. Somebody, CTook33 says, still waiting, and I'm curious why.
What are you waiting for, CTook?
I don't know who CTook33 is, unless that's a different username from someone else. I'm confused.
Yeah, me neither. CTook33, are you a part of the Discord?
Tell you what, you should, if you're in the Discord under a different name, you should go ahead and DM one of us so that we know what's going on. Preferably Jables, because I should not be looking at Discord right now. I have too many windows open as it is. But yeah,
Waffle's doing production. I'm doing nothing.
Yeah, if you look over here, you can see curves, and there's actually some dots here as well. This is all very, very sciencey. There's a lot of math involved. I know what some of it is. Maybe.
Well, that's another thing that happened is after this car was shot into space, it has a bunch of cameras attached to it and stuff. And so the flat earthers are trying to explain away the video from the car. I haven't looked into any of them yet, but they're trying to say that it's all fake too, and that Elon Musk is just another government shill.
So there's some gems here in the Twitter comments. I particularly like this one here. About having flying cars in the future. Because I guess technically we do. Which is beautiful. But yeah, in either case, it's not the best thing ever. Well, actually it might be the worst thing ever. See, here's how I see it. Elon Musk is an interesting individual. He has, he had something to do with PayPal and then sold it. He's a very rich man. He keeps innovating and making all these crazy things. He is selling flamethrowers for shits and giggles. You can't buy them for shits and giggles, but that is why he is selling them. He has a company called The Boring Company, which sells said flamethrowers. He's building weird underground...
Well, no. The Boring Company is actually boring holes underneath Los Angeles. So that,
I'm aware. It's for the Hyperloop, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
So he's
Elon Musk is on the verge of being a supervillain.
That's where I was going. Now, please let me go through this because I have a bit of a thing, and I find it funny. So Elon Musk is having all these infrastructure projects and all that, and innovating in all these different ways, and so he's kind of this textbook supervillain, right? But if we're looking at supervillain characters, well, this is which one would match up? Well, here's how I come to the answer. Elon Musk launches a car in space. Some alien life form finds this car, lands it back on Earth. It has a baby in it. Said baby gets raised by farmers, and then, discovers it has superpowers, learns good morals, all that, and he needs to go stop some industrialist from doing his thing. And, meanwhile, this other, horrible Elon Luthor or Lex Musk, whichever way. Lex Musk, that sounds like a good cologne. Either way, we just need Elon Musk to go... We need Elon Musk to go bald. And all of a sudden, we've got the plot of any number of bad Superman movies with Superman trying to stop Elon Musk, and it's all going down in Silicon Valley instead of Metropolis. And really, this poor industrialist is just running around saying, why can't I shoot my dead hookers into space? And no, they're not call girls. When they're dead, they're hookers. But why can't I shoot them into space, Superman? It's for profit. How dare you stop me from making money? Gee, I need to kill this all-powerful super god man because he's cutting into my fucking bottom line. And if you do not think that this is a realistic future, you're right. We're probably not going to see alien life doing this. He's just going to win. Lex Luthor is going to win, and his name is Elon Musk. What have you done, people? Why did you think Tesla was a good plan? They're pretty cars, and they're really safe, but is it really worth letting this man ascend to such a position of power? He's going to own everything! There's going to be cheap flamethrowers available, and the world is going to go to shit! Cats and dogs sleeping together?
Waffle.
No!
Waffle. Too far. Hold up. Elon Musk, he's selling flamethrowers for shits and gigs and, renaming them so they can pass through claims. They can pass through customs, at least. Elon Musk is like my spirit animal.
Well, it gets even better because he also lost one of the rockets into the fucking ocean, and that rock is now going to anger Aquaman and Black Manta. So Black Manta and Aquaman are going to gather up together, and they're going to go over and sink Europe or something because of an affair, and all of a sudden we're talking about Flashpoint again. But really, the important point here is that everything that goes wrong in the next 100 years is probably going to be Elon Musk's fault, and is going to sadly have been predicted by DC Comics. This upsets me to say, but I almost believe it. Almost. I'll let you decide how true that is.
Yeah, I disagree. But that's mostly because I have a highly religious family that sees no value in us going to space, and there's so many benefits for us learning how to navigate space that can affect us on Earth.
Oh, I've got no problem with navigating space. I have a lot of problems with pissing off Aquaman.
Aquaman's a little puss shit, so...
Are you sure? There's exactly, one superhero in the DC Comics universe that elder gods listen to, and turns out it's Aquaman.
Yeah, that's only because he's the son of Poseidon.
No, it's because it's all things in the ocean, and Cthulhu's in the ocean.
Whatever. Fuck it.
It's terrible. Right. It's awful. Don't just... Long story short, do not be Elon Musk. Don't drop rockets into the ocean. It's going to end everything. This is terrible. Don't do it.
No, I mean, Elon Musk relands his rockets and he gets them back. He doesn't just the ocean. That's NASA.
Lex Luthor renames his kryptonite and gets it back when it fails to kill Superman.
So...
You know, I gotta say though, just this hypothetical situation now has me excited to see the upcoming robot overlords and Elon Musk fight over who can conquer the world first.
Well, Elon Musk is very firmly against AI, at least at the moment.
Oh God, Elon Musk versus Skynet. Let's see it happen. Come on, guys, we can do this.
Oh yeah.
Somebody write that fanfic and make it really weird. Looking at you, Madire.
Anna, we're talking to you too.
Anna, you got to read it out loud, though. Speaking of which, this might actually be a good time to bring her in, shall we?
Yeah. I'm gonna start talking a little bit while you give her a call. So our main focus for this week is productive conversation.
Now, pause for one moment while everything cuts out, and you should be back. Can you speak? Jables, can you speak?
Yes.
Okay, good. Jables is here. Anna shall be here soon, unless she's already here. I have no idea.
So, one thing that Waffle and I learned together is that having productive conversations is extremely important within the Discord. Waffle and I used to butt heads a lot.
That is an understatement.
Quite a lot. Yeah. But one thing that we did is we had a lot of discussions on how to talk to each other, and how we communicate specifically as ourselves. And we sort of narrowed it down on how we can have discussions with each other. And yeah, butting heads is an understatement. It took us like a month or two before we really figured shit out.
Yeah, and clearly the right way to have a productive conversation is to do almost what I'm doing here, which I almost interrupted Jables. That's actually the proper way to do it. When Jables starts talking, immediately interrupt him, start recharacterizing everything he says into a completely unflattering light. Anytime he tries to say anything, tell him he's immediately wrong. Start yelling at the top of your lungs. I'm really good at that one. And then talk for about 6 hours without letting anyone get a word in edgewise, and by the end of it, clearly, you're the winner, right? Don't do any of these things.
Or you can pull a Jables, and when Waffle starts interrupting you all the time, then you just tell him to fuck off because he's a fucking dirty little cunt.
Yeah, that works.
That's what I do when I'm in voice chat.
What are you doing? Anna is here.
Yeah.
Yes, Anna. Yeah, we want to talk about having productive conversations.
So this is where we start acting like adults and decide that there has to be a moral to this particular story. The story in question being just whatever this episode is, and so
the reason why I want to talk about this tonight is because it's been an issue within the Discord for the past couple of weeks. Is having productive conversations with people.
And on that note, I would actually like to come in here and make a bit of a disclaimer for anything we talk about here. As much as I utterly and completely despise it when people say, do what I say, not what I do, I'm kind of going to say that here. There are some things that I do that are not necessarily healthy for conversation, and do not emulate me. It's not a good way to do things. So the only reason I can say, the right way, or not necessarily the right way, but at least what things are not productive for conversations, is that I'm fully aware of my flaws and faults, and I'm working on them slowly. So hopefully you guys are better at this than I am.
I'm also working on things myself, because I do get angry and I start yelling sometimes. But I'm working past that. We're more talking about how to have productive conversations, which we know how to do, which is tough to do in the heat of the moment, just to keep these sort of things.
Right, and also, fair warning, I think this is the last time where we're going to say what we're going to talk about before we actually start talking about it. But let's try not to do any of these, take 10 deep breaths, count backwards from 50 until you're calm and you can articulate your point. No, that's not useful. It's useful for other things, not here. Here we yell at each other, but we want to know how to yell at each other well. So, Anna, thoughts, productive conversation, kick us off, and then we'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay. Well, whenever I'm in voice chat, I don't really experience these things. People are generally pretty nice to me, but maybe it's because I put off that air of, if you try to talk over me, I'm just going to scream, shut the fuck up until you do, so...
Yeah.
Possible, and depending on who you're talking to, sometimes a viable tactic.
Plus, it's rough when you leave the band hammering.
Yeah, and that is actually definitely something that skews.
Well, see, that happens. You go and hang out with Nick, and you get drunk, and then you just fucking leave the band hammer somewhere in New Hampshire. That's what happens.
Yeah, so now we have to use Waze and top men to get things to happen, which. Well, if any of you are questioning exactly what these ways are, good. Don't worry about it, though. Not too much. Hopefully it'll never develop into your life.
Yeah, so, Anna, you're more like a philosophy-based type person. Waffle and I are more fact-based type people.
Oh, speak for yourself. I love me some philosophy.
Yeah. Waffle. Remember this.
Well, kind of, sorta. I'm more psychology knowledgeable than I am philosophy. That's sort of a newer thing for me.
So I think to kick this off in a certain way, I'm going to just kind of give it off some of what my views on what makes a conversation productive and not productive are. And, feel free to interject or jump in at any time. So first off, it's sort of almost what not to do. I'm just going to talk and not necessarily try to preface it. We'll see if we hit something that makes sense. So I find that we frequently argue in Discord, and I'm going to focus on the arguments a little bit more, or like argument in general, a little more than conversations that are friendly where everyone agrees. Because let's be honest, you can have some productive stuff happen in a conversation where everyone agrees and everyone's friendly and everything's perfectly civil. But that's not exactly difficult. That's not where things get to be the problem. Where the problem comes in is when two people walk in, disagree, and then can't somehow resolve that, get past that, or unpack it and really talk about it. So when you have a conversation ending in, I'm going to call it 3 ways. There's others, obviously. But one of them being a shouting match, and then everything's just awful, and the two are fuming at each other, and they're angry, and then there's bad blood. That's not productive. Second one is somebody just says, I can't have this conversation, and leaves. One or both people do that, or more people if you have more people in the conversation. And that's not terribly productive because you didn't resolve anything. Someone got fed up and took their ball and went home. And granted, if you are in a conversation like this, you're feeling the bile rising your throat, and you're at that point where you just are, you're going to start shouting at people and you don't want to. It's like, all right, I got to walk out of this or I'm going to start yelling. Perfectly reasonable to do. I'm not going to blame anyone for that, but it's not necessarily a productive conversation, even if it's the right move. And then
that's tabling the conversation, in my opinion.
Maybe, yeah, and but tabling can be productive, sort of. The third one I'd say is when, and this is where I might catch some flack, where people might tell me I'm completely wrong, is when somebody says, well, let's just agree to disagree. That's a pet peeve of mine. I hate it. I can go on at length about all the reasons I hate it, but that doesn't resolve anything. That's basically saying, okay, you think you and I disagree. One of us or both of us doesn't understand where the other one's coming from, so let's just agree that this is never going to get resolved and then walk away from it.
Yeah, it's an avoidance tactic. It's not really doing anything productive as far as conversation is concerned.
Yeah, well, Waffle and I had like a 2-day-long conversation about agree to disagree.
We did. It was entertaining, to say the least.
It's not a joke at all. We
did not go for a straight 48 hours. I'm good. I'm not that good.
It just took us a couple of days of us meeting up with Discord to discuss it.
Yeah.
Where I used to be with agree to disagree, I always saw it as table the conversation, but everybody else seems to be doing it in a much different way.
Right, and part of that, it's actually that does bring me to a particular point that I want to get to. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, even though I think I've heard yours, Jables, but our viewers might want to hear them as well. So the words that you say are not always a perfect reflection of what you mean. And this is, like, this feels like, it, or at least from my perspective, this feels like it's obvious. It feels like it makes sense that you can misspeak or not have the right words and try to express yourself and you just don't quite hit it. In this case, Jables, used to believe that, let's agree to disagree meant one thing, and not necessarily believe that, but that's what it meant to him. That was what his context and everything brought to the discussion, led him to understand that set of words. Other people understood it differently. This is something of a, like this is an issue. It's a problem, because I might agree with what somebody means, but I can't read their mind. So if you come up to me and you say words and they're not the words that match what you mean, or rather, they're not the words that match what you mean as I understand those words, then we're going to quote-unquote disagree, even though we're actually in complete agreement on the actual substance of the issue. So there's some ways to get around it. There are some ways to get around it, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that issue first.
Here, Anna.
Either of you. Both of you.
Well, no. Waffle, you and I, we had a long talk about defining. That was like 2 weeks worth.
Well, it's not just you and I. It's become something of a theme in the Discord for a long time because I remember sitting down to have a 4-hour conversation with a lot of people to say, and I'm loving the conversation in the chat. Let's
let our guest Anna weigh in on this.
My apologies. Please go ahead.
Well, a lot of that could be cleared up by simply just having people say what the fuck they mean. Like, I never understood why anybody would parse words when they're talking to anyone and not say exactly what it is, what they mean when they're talking to someone. But I suppose that's a common thing. People tend to pick their words very carefully depending on who they're talking to, especially on the internet, since we don't all really actually know each other.
Yeah, and especially when there's like certain colloquialisms that exist within different areas.
I think some of it is a phenomena that I'm gonna name it now because I don't know what it's called, but I'm gonna call it assumption of context, where hypothetical you says a thing and you have all of this life history and learning and socialization and everything that leads you to understand those terms to mean one thing, and all of that background and context is may be necessary to the meaning you're trying to convey. And then if you don't have that, if the other person, let's say, grew up in a completely different area, has different friends, just different background and literacy and such, then, and I'm not saying they're illiterate but have read different things or experienced different things,
right,
then that context isn't there and the meaning's going to be different. So
right, it's essentially projecting your own personal perception onto another individual just based on lack of knowledge or whatever.
It's making assumptions, and you know what they say: when you assume, it's making an ass out of you. And and Anna, do you have any specific points that can apply to having a productive conversation? Just like 2 or 3 main points on how to have a productive conversation.
Generally, I don't like to tone police people, but when you're talking to somebody, don't be totally abrasive in how you approach things, perhaps. Because I do find that there are some people, not specific to the Discord, but some people in general, that whenever they go to make a point at all, they just come off totally abrasive and acting like that's the absolute truth whenever they go to make any sort of point.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that absolutely. Being abrasive it definitely has its place, but there's a big difference between walking into a conversation and insulting everyone's intelligence, and just being an ass about it, and walking into a conversation being a bit of a dick but being entertaining about it.
Yeah,
and it's a fine line. It's difficult to ride, but
there's nuance to it.
It's there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Breadmaster's example of that. He's a fucking asshole.
But
yes, Brett, I know you're watching. That's oh. Am I cutting out a lot, guys?
A little bit, not terribly much.
Yeah, not that bad.
What I would suggest doing is go into your because you went to voice activity. Don't auto detect don't let it auto detect your voice volume. Set it to a specific amount so that your mic's consistently picking up. You can do that from your settings, your voice and video settings.
Yeah, I'm
so
right there. Am I cutting out a lot less?
You sound great.
Doing this?
Okay.
All right.
So I'm gonna bring up another bit here, because personally, this is where my issue comes in with productive conversations, or at least one of my big issues. I really, really love getting into the shit with people. I really love that sort of fight, and I enjoy it. It's fun for me. So one of the difficulties I have is when I'm slipping into that place where I'm being a bully in the conversation and where I'm being an ass and I'm being really difficult to deal with. It's hard for me to notice it. It's hard for me to tell when I've crossed the line into the conversation no longer being productive. And It's something I've worked on, but I still have issues with it. So I'm curious for either of you, like either from your own experience or from watching it from the outside, either way, what are some good ways to tell when you're getting into that spiral where the conversation was productive and now it's not, and to pull back from that? Like, what are some warning signs?
In my personal opinion, I think it depends on how the conversation is going in general. You have to look at the way the responses are going back and forth. It's not like there's not just a catch-all explanation for that.
Right, but like what you have to look at how the responses are going back and forth, sure. And in this, I could definitely to be a little passive-aggressive here and say that in terms of, productive conversations, you don't want to mince words and make, wishy-washy points. You want to say something clear and declarative so someone can actually argue against it or agree with it.
Right.
But which applies here to a degree. But I guess what I'm asking is, yeah, it's going to depend generally on the conversation and how it's going. But what is something that you would expect to see in general where if it happens, if this thing happens, whatever this thing might be, you are very, very close to this conversation being unsalvageable?
Anything for that?
Yeah, I think that's entirely a personal perspective sort of thing. Everybody's sort of different in how they approach conversations, and when everybody can get to that point where they've gone too far, everybody's too far point is different. So maybe just a bit of self-awareness, maybe just, having a little more understanding of how you converse and how you can be in those instances, and what exact quote-unquote triggers might be for you to get to the point where you start kind of going from being a productive conversationalist to just being an outright dick.
Okay. So in that case... go ahead, please.
It's also a case-by-case basis. There are some people that will accept certain jokes that are... or even... we ran into an issue where somebody was saying some fucked up shit and then just try to pass it off as a joke. But within the whole context, it seemed like a joke because we were in the middle of a very serious conversation. And they said a quote-unquote joke. And it didn't seem like a joke within that context. I think that's another point for productive conversation is knowing your audience and knowing the kinds of jokes.
And also knowing that some things kind of get lost in translation when it comes to the internet, especially if you're just in plain text.
Well, it was in voice. I'm not gonna get into who and what and where when.
It's right, regardless. But that actually does remind me, both in voice and in text, this is important, more so in text. Huge amounts of social interaction and conversation are nonverbal. So when we're talking here, tone is doing a lot. So yeah, tone policing might not be a good idea, but you are communicating something with your tone, and learning how to control it's not a bad idea. In the case of, so even in voice though, you're not seeing, I'm gesturing while I'm talking here because I'm used to gesturing while I talk. You're not seeing any of that. So you're not seeing any of the emphasis from these gestures, and I wave my hands all over the place.
Right, just like when I'm used to listening to somebody talk, you can't tell that I'm staring intently, completely listening to what you're saying, sort of thing.
And if I was face to face with you guys, I'd give you guys some little side looks and little winks and stuff when I do some little snarky comments. I would do shit like that, but because I like working with the puns and tiny little jokes that nobody always picks up on.
As YFet says, I do gesticulate a lot. Not even all that Italian, but I do it anyway. So as far
but you got that beautiful beard. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, I took a public speaking class. I do the gesticulation a little bit too. So,
so the what I'm trying to get to, real quick, Jables. What I'm trying to get to with that is, even with voice, there's still a lot of channels of communication that are missing. With text, you have even more. So with text, tone does not exist, and there are ways to do it. Like if you really know what you're doing with italics and bolding and all kinds of fun stuff like that, you can artificially put some tone into text, but it's tough because you can't guarantee it's going to be read the way you're thinking it. And then
yeah, that's kind of why they made emojis too.
Right. And so when you're speaking in text, this is a thing with sarcasm. Be very, very, very careful with sarcasm. You have to make it tremendously obvious. This is something I see constantly in text and in voice. And Jesus Christ, people, make sure that what you're doing is, like, however obvious you think it is, make it about 5 times more obvious. That's what you got to do. That's important.
Right.
Anna, I wasn't talking to you.
Oh God, is that a breakdown in conversation? Oh God!
You don't play well with others. I thought you guys knew that by now.
Yeah, we've run into like a couple people within Discord that they're.
Well, no, let's not even do that.
They're quote-unquote sarcasm.
No.
Their quote-unquote sarcasm is fucking insufferable. You can go ahead and say it. It's fine.
Jables, I do want to put my foot down on that right now because I don't want to turn this into the mods bitch about people, hint, hint, wink, wink. We're not going to say who it is, blah, blah, blah.
Discord blood sport.
Yeah, I do not want to do that. Don't even say that we have users that do it. Just describe the behavior that you don't like.
Well, of course there's going to be. We have 1,000 people in the Discord.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that it happens with certain users because it happens with certain users. It's happened with me before.
Okay.
That's, I'm not gonna.
For the listeners,
like sarcasm.
Jables, hold on.
Sarcasm and jokes get lost.
We're not talking shit, guys. It's hard.
Hold on for a moment. For those of you listening and watching, I do want to be very clear about this. This is not a place for us to publicly crucify anybody, nor is it a place for us to hint at, such and such person is being a dick. That's not the intent at all. If Jable starts doing it, I will, slap him or something.
I wouldn't participate in anything that had to do with that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so if I'm here, then
it's shit that happens to all of us. Like context gets lost and intent gets lost all the time, and that's why I'm throwing myself out there as an example.
Fair enough.
Right.
No, there are people that it happens to more than others, but it's more based around context of when things are being said, as opposed to what is being said. It's
more about context than content.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would agree with that. I think that's a big deal. It's. Oh God, there was a thing in my head for this, and it's gone. That's unfortunate. Oh well. I'm sure you guys can all think of things where context is very for example, Anna. If I were to say to you, "Hey, let's eat out," context is a little important.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Just a touch.
So for having if you are walking into a conversation, and let's be honest, if you're walking into a conversation with the intent of just shooting the shit, having fun, dicking around, you don't want to have any lasting big stuff going on. That no worries, it's like that's just about having fun. If you seriously have a disagreement that you want to work out with somebody, there are a couple of, I'm not going to call them tactics, but almost tricks that I would recommend. And these can come across poorly, but these are the kinds of things that come up when you're starting to have a breakdown in communication. If you want to seize control of a conversation, and you don't have the ability to just steamroll over everybody and bulldoze through a chat, right? Because most of us don't. One of the best ways for you to control a conversation is to ask questions. If you're in an argument with somebody, just in general, and they're talking about something, and you're back and forth, and they're, really bulldozing you, and you say, okay, but what do you mean by this? And then they say that. It's like, okay, so how is that relevant? And they say that, and it's like, okay, so then what about this? How do these two things connect? You keep asking them questions, and that they think that they're in control. They're not. They are not in control of that conversation anymore. You are. You have completely taken the lead. Using that, if you have that lead all of a sudden, start asking them questions about their points and where they're coming from, and then start asking them questions about your points. So you can say, okay, so do you see what I mean by this, though? Or can you kind of, do you get what I'm believing? And when they answer, sometimes press them on it. To tell them, so tell me what you think I think here.
Waffle, are you talking about narrowing things down to specifics?
No, I'm talking about when you're dealing with someone who's completely on, where you're almost at this breakdown of communication, where you're just butting heads constantly, flip-flopping that thing, where instead of, pushing against them, all of a sudden you're drawing them out. And then once you've done that, change that momentum of the conversation, getting them to then engage with you the same way you're engaging with them, getting them to try to draw you out. And sometimes you have to prompt people to do that. But a lot of times when you do that, because you end up with this thing where, let's say Anna and I completely disagree about, I don't know, something in politics about left and right, and it's like, no, the left is evil, no, the right is evil, whatever. And shifting that momentum, you end up getting to this point where it's like, okay, so what do you think I believe? And it's like, okay, well, I think you believe this. And it's like, oh, that's where the breakdown happened. This word, when I say it, means this, not this. Or something like that. Or, okay, I see where you got that thing. You get what I mean. Where you're all of a sudden just switching the direction of sort of forces in the conversation. Very, very useful thing to do. And that's just useful in general life. That's my recommendation.
Go ahead, Anna.
In breakdowns in conversations, sometimes you find yourself being on the end where you're the one who has to take control of the conversation to keep that breakdown from happening. Because the other person might not be aware enough to realize that it's about to be a fight. If you see it in that manner, you can kind of shift the tone a little bit depending on what you say. Asking questions, absolutely, especially depending on how you phrase them, can totally steer the conversation away from being a full-blown argument to a productive conversation.
Exactly. One of my favorite ones for that is, what do you mean by that? Or can you, I don't quite get that. Can you explain that a little more? Because it's, if you can get someone to go through the point again. Sorry.
Yeah, that shows it shows kind of a want to understand what the other person's saying, and that tends to make people come off their guard a little bit if you're showing you're trying to understand.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of these breakdowns happen, is that both sides, I think, tend to think that the other side is not trying to understand at all, and it's just butting heads. No, where you end up with, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. That kind of thing. That doesn't work too well.
That's where, Waffle and I are pretty fact-based, so that it took us 2 or 3 weeks. So
you're cutting out again. Get a little closer to your mic.
Motherfucker. Hold on. I had up the shit that a dog was.
Yeah.
Better? Is that? Hold on.
Oh no. Technical difficulties.
Okay. Better now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Much better. There you go. Nice.
So, that's an issue that Waffle and I constantly ran into, is that we're pretty fact-based people, so we were able to talk through things a lot with each other. And a lot of our discussions while we were butting heads is how we can have conversations with each other. How each of us deals with the conversation, and how we need to be specific with what we say, and not have broad abstracts when we're discussing certain things.
And part of that is some of my own habits with conversation. And one of the things that Jables and I got to in our stuff, and for those of you who don't know, for a solid 3 months, Jables and I didn't really get along. We
no.
And it wasn't necessarily friendly butting heads. It was like, oh god damn it, he's here. It was we didn't really get along. Now we have a show together. And a lot of this because we both had a vested interest in sitting down and actually figuring out how that works. It's like thinking about how you think. It's talking about how you talk. One of the things that we got to is, if this is a habit of mine, it's maybe a bad habit, maybe not. When somebody says something that is factually wrong, regardless of what they meant, regardless of anything else, if the words you say don't work or don't make sense, I will pounce on that. And I'm not gonna just punch you over and over about it. I hopefully will not hold it over your head for the entire conversation. The instant that you say, "Okay, I misspoke. Here's what I mean," it's over. Right?
Yeah.
We're on to the next thing. It's good. And I have that bad habit of digging in my heels and entrenching myself on a stupid turn of phrase that does not mean what I wanted it to mean. So I said a thing, and now I'm suddenly defending something where I'm clearly wrong.
We've had a...
I had an ex-boyfriend that did that.
Yeah, well, Waffle and I had a lot of instances where we would disagree in the public voice chat, but then we would talk about it outside of the public sphere.
Yeah.
Because of certain things. We just weren't... We were talking past each other. We were meaning the same sorts of things, but we were talking past each other and not necessarily... what's the word?
We weren't really quite hitting the mark and being understood by the other well, because I wasn't understanding what you wanted to get across, and you were probably not understanding what I wanted to get across. I'm not going to speak for your mind,
Yeah,
but
you're a talkative, over talking fuck.
Yeah,
and so that's
I admit it. It's what I do. I love the sound.
It's the number one complaint I hear about you.
Yeah.
Well, I hear that too, but I always tell them, like, look, I just do what I do and just over talk him.
No, that's like, I don't mind. I really don't.
Yeah, or do what I do and tell him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm one of those kind of people where if I want to be heard, I'll be heard.
Exactly.
Then again, like, new people coming into conversations with Waffle, for example, which we had some problems with.
Oh, yeah.
Is, like, tell him to shut the fuck up, especially if I'm in the chat, which I generally am. Like, tell him to shut the fuck up. It's okay.
Yeah, and be assertive about it too. Don't be like, you do not have to be timid about it. I won't be offended, and I won't get mad at you for it. Like, if you're like, hey, I need to say something, shut up. It's like, oh, okay, go for it.
Especially like when you and I started butting heads a lot originally, it was because you were taking premises to like the end, where I would have a disagreement with your initial premises. And then you would just try to take it all the way to the end, but there was the initial thing that I had a problem with when we were having these discussions.
Yeah.
I forget what they were about, but...
any number of things.
Yeah. But, like, your initial point I had a problem with, and I wanted to talk to you about that, but you were so adamant about taking it to its final conclusion, then by the time I let you take it to its final conclusion, I would forget what the initial point was.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the main thing that I had a problem with. And taking it to the final conclusion, it forced me to agree with your original premise. When you were going to the final conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of which, even though that was not fully my intent with that is a tactic that people will use, and it's worth watching out for. It is a conversational trap where someone will basically bring you all the way along a line of logic and get you to almost say that, like that by following the line of logic that you agree with everything along it and make those the same thing. So someone will say, like, do you get what I mean? And if you say yes, they're like, cool, we agree. It's no, we don't.
No, I just understand what the fuck you said.
Don't let people do that. Like, you can let people go along the whole line of logic if you want, but when they get to the end with that, you can say, I see where you got there. I don't agree with you. Like, be adamant about that. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Don't let people put words in your mouth.
no, Waffle, you and I had a lot of discussions about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's, but by letting somebody get to the end of that, you are virtually consenting to that whole premise, essentially.
You know what? I disagree there, but Anna, go ahead. It sounds like you have thoughts.
Well, it depends. If they're trying to explain something to you at length, I would say, for the sake of politeness, don't cut them off and let them get to the end of their point. But if it's a thing where there is a point where you can interject and be like, okay, well, I found an issue with this, like, by all means. But I understand if it goes at length where somebody's truly trying to explain an entire point, like say somebody believes something philosophically or something like that, and they're trying to explain it in depth to you. If you find issues with it at one point or another in the long ass explanation of that, unless they give you that sort of in where they're making just like bullet points in a conversation, if they're not explaining an entire concept all at once, if there's a place you can interject into, by all means. But other than that, like, it's kind of hard not to get to the end of somebody saying a big long thing.
Yeah, my disagreement's a little bit different. While I do agree with almost everything you just said there, my perspective on it is it's that idea of entertaining an idea that you don't necessarily disagree with, and part of that's just because I find ideas that I like, if I see an idea that I've never seen before, even if it's completely wrong and batshit crazy, it's still fascinating to me. So yeah, for me, I want to see someone go down that whole train of logic so I can follow that, and I'll keep note of where I disagree. And if I interject, I might say, okay, I disagree with that, but please continue, or something like that. Because I do want to see how this person thinks. I do want to get to the end of that.
Well, okay, I'm not saying you just
I know
people to go through their train of logic. I'm saying that there is a point where you have to say, I'm not going to go fully with you, but I want to hear you out.
For sure. It's just I'm saying that by letting someone get to the end of their logic, I don't think that you are conceding that first point at all. I think you're saying, like, okay, for the sake of what you're saying, we'll pretend like that's fine. Please continue, and then at the end of it, you can go back and say, all right, but here's the point where I disagree, or at least here's that first point where I disagree. I don't think you have to concede that at all. Just be conscious of it.
Well, another point is that that's the point where you pretty much have to take notes. Because if you disagree with the first point and you let people continue going, then you might lose track of where your initial disagreement was. If you're just sitting there and listening to their stream of quote-unquote logic.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've run into that when I have a lot of religious discussions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's important to keep a pen and paper around, and make like your disagreement known right off the bat. As soon as you disagree with a point, then make it known to the person, and then jot down like a little note, and then you can circle back to that just to see where their logic went and how that point that you disagreed with fits into all of that.
Honestly speaking, when you're getting into these, or when we get into these really, crazy discussions that go all over the place, I actually almost do take notes. Not quite the way you might expect. It's a weird process and I don't want to go into it. But I will sort of keep tabs on various things because I like to be able to go off on a tangent and then roll back to where we were. And not just me going off on a tangent, but letting other people do that too. Sometimes I don't. So sometimes if I see that tangent happen, I'll be like, no, shut up. Keep, put a pin in that. We'll get to that after this, but please, not yet. Right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll do that for sure. But on both sides, if you have an idea that you want to talk about, it's worth putting a note on there because you know what? You're not going to remember every thought you have, and you have a lot of good thoughts. Everybody has a lot of good thoughts. It's not worth losing them.
Right.
Also, another thing to keep in mind is a lot of times when discussions come up, people are waiting for their turn to speak. As soon as they have like a dissenting opinion on something, people are just waiting for their turn to speak. So just jot down a note real quick, make a quick mention that you have a problem with a certain thing, but they can continue. And then you can circle back around if need, depending on where the final
I absolutely agree with that, Jables. People are often they're waiting for their turn to speak, and then it becomes less listening to what the other person is saying anymore, and more just waiting until you have the chance to at that point.
In all honesty, the instant that you have the thing that you want to say, where all this, because this is sort of a neurology psychology thing. When you there's people talk about active listening. It's a big deal, but like you've got kind of a listening mode for your brain, and then you've got a talking mode for your brain, and they don't coexist very well. So the instant you have that thing that you want to say, you're not listening to the other person like you might have been listening to them at like 100% before. You're listening at maybe 20 now.
Right.
Oh, but Waffle, that's why you just you let them know you have a problem with that specific thing.
Well,
you jot down a few words, and then you let them.
Right, and that's why jotting down the words works, because what it does is it takes that urge that you have to speak this thing, to say this thing, and it pops it into a physical thing. You have ejected it from your mind, and now the paper's remembering it for you.
Yeah.
And that lets you walk back to roll your mind back to listening. It makes it easier to do that. So
it kind of kicks it out of your conscious into your subconscious instead of taking up all your space there.
Right.
You're instead of constantly thinking about that thing that you have a problem with, you have it written down on paper so you can circle back to it later. That's the whole point of jotting it down.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can extract it from your former conscious.
There are other ways to do it as well.
For me, for sure.
Well, hold on. For me, one of the things that I'll do, this is part of the system for like the pseudo notes, is I will, while I'm sitting here talking to somebody, put up a finger. Like I'll hold up a hand and I'll hold up one finger, and each time there's a thing where I want to interject, I'll hold up another finger, right? And usually I'm not going to get to two hands, but sometimes I do. So I'll hold up a finger, and then to bring myself back out of that I want to talk thing, which I don't do nearly as often as I should, but I've been doing it throughout this conversation, is I have a thought where it's like I want to say this, and then I don't necessarily push it out of my head, but I focus on what the other person is saying. So when Jables is talking, I'm not just listening to that and like having the idea pop in. I'm listening to each word and each sound, and like I'm paying attention to the sound of him talking.
Yeah, it's that active listening, active awareness sort of thing.
Yeah, it switches gears in the brain. It's very
holding up the fingers, that's still you are still keeping things in your mind, and you're kind of keeping them at the forefront, as opposed to if you just write things down, you can forget about those. Yeah, but maybe that's just a different difference between you and me on that.
Well, like I said, it's a quirk of my systems on this. I don't want to get into all of it because it's really weird and convoluted, but it does end up working for me. But there were a few things that were said, and we've walked away from it, but I'm going to rubber band this back a little bit. If I can. I'm trying to remember exactly where it was, because we almost segued perfectly into one of the things that I wanted to get into, and it was, I'm not sure if it was about defining terms, but it was close. But when we're talking about productive conversation, I'm just going to briefly define some of what I mean with a productive conversation. I want to see, even if I'm not involved and I'm just listening, I want to see both people walk away with some understanding of the other person's position. That's where it's some modicum of productive to me, right?
Right.
No, I...
Feel free to jump up, please.
Give me a minute. So, okay. Anna, you go ahead and talk on that. I have to formulate my thoughts on that one.
Actually, that segues to something very good. Is don't be afraid to take your time and really think about something before you talk about it. That's good.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
yeah. Don't feel like you have to spit off the cuff because not a lot of people can necessarily do that sort of improvised, eloquent talking.
No, well, improvised eloquent talking that just comes with practice, honestly.
Some people are just hot garbage at it.
For a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like James Damore does not have eloquent talking off the cuff.
No, he sounds like a moron if you talk to him in an interview, but he's a few minutes and he's fine.
Yeah, he's the smartest fuck guy, and he knows how to do research and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that. Go ahead. I do have a thing about James Damore.
Yeah. For me, like I don't like talking about things that I haven't gone through like personal experiences with, or at least done research on. There are a lot of conversations that I will just skip on because I don't feel like I know enough about it, and that's another thing that everybody should know. If you don't know enough about it, don't just start pulling shit out of your ass.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to participate in that conversation if you don't know enough about it. If you want to get a better understanding of somebody's position on that thing specifically, like, you can listen to the other person. But if you don't know enough, don't just, like, spit out hot garbage or whatever.
It is okay to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
It is perfectly fine. It's perfectly acceptable to say, I don't know.
Yeah, no one person knows everything about everything. It's perfectly understandable.
It's the most intellectually honest thing you can say a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So, to sum up some of the things that we've said so far, I'll just leave the James Damore thing for now. Anyone who wants to hear about it can ask me later.
Oh, I want to hear about it.
We'll talk about it later. It doesn't totally fit into the conversation at the moment. To sum up some of what we've said so far, for general tips, when you're talking with people, and like let's say there's this one person that you just cannot get through to and it doesn't work, a lot of the problem there, in my mind at least, is that you don't know the other person's way of talking and communicating well enough yet, and they don't know yours yet. If you think it is at all possible, which 90% of the time it is, for you two to develop a shared understanding, be patient. It takes time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Furthermore, be patient with how long it takes to make your points. Sometimes you have to get through a lot of iterations on it, and it's okay to be wrong. So maybe you have to be wrong 20 times in a conversation before you actually get the words out that express what you really think. That's okay. That's why we talk like this. That's why we bounce ideas off each other, is to actually get to that point where we really do have it ironed out what we think. And then... go ahead.
No, you finish up.
And then... on top of that, so far, be patient with both the other person and yourself. Be patient with your own ability to make points, and don't be afraid to be wrong. And then the other, I guess, overarching thing that I think we've really covered here is do your best to be aware of how you are speaking and how the other person is speaking. Like, pay attention not just to the words they're saying, but how they're saying them, how the sound's coming out, what's going on in the conversation, your own volume, your own, like, are you tensed and sitting forward and hunched forward, or are you almost jumping out of your seat? Maybe you're getting a little too invested in the conversation. Are you starting to pace? That kind of thing. Pay attention to your own physical stuff going on, because that's going to give you a really, really good kind of window into what's going on under the surface with yourself, because you might have no idea that you're shouting, but you are. And that kind of thing. And likewise, the other person might not know either, so bringing that person out, like I said, pay attention for those openings and those changes in the conversation. Watch the flow. So pay attention to yourself, your partner, be patient with yourself and your partner, and don't be afraid to be wrong, nor should you be afraid to call the other person out for being wrong.
Yeah, a perfect example is Waffle and I.
You're wrong, Jables. No, I'm kidding.
We had there was a point that we hated each other, but now we're running a show together.
Hate's a strong word.
And that's...
it's a strong word.
Well, Yeah, hate's strong. But I don't know. I hated you.
I won't hold that against you at all.
He was plotting your demise.
Yeah. No, I was trying to get you banned, but you already got mods. Fucking.
You failed, Skywalker.
No, but
sorry.
But like, what Waffle and I did is like, we would have disagreements, and our disagreements would just become. It was the way we were communicating. It wasn't what we were saying. It was the way we were communicating. And so a big thing to focus on is defining terms, defining how you communicate, being specific. Those are all ways that Waffle and I ended up communicating really well together. And how I consider Waffle a friend now. But
I likewise, dude. All the way.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute.
Look at this fucking bromance. Brocialism is back, baby. No, I'm kidding.
You do have a beautiful beard, Waffle.
Thank you. I need to shave it all off.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
We'll be back in a week.
Don't
Get
let him.
fucked. I can't grow shit. Yeah, but what we did is because we are so Leslie Maxwell, don't ship it.
Write that thick.
Dude, I bet you Madire's already on it.
Yeah, the fact that I'm saying don't do it means that it's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like telling Jeff not to look up E621. We all saw how well that went.
Yeah, we got a great meme out of it.
Soon you'll be Jables, Kun.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Jables
You guys can just call me Jake. That's my real name, by the way.
Should we just start calling him Jables-chan?
Oh, fuck.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but
we
Sorry.
We had Waffle and I had a lot of talks on how we communicate with each other and how we can communicate better.
Mm-hmm.
And Jablethorpe is terrible. Sorry, I keep
Waffle Bowls is better, guys. Waffle Bowls is way better.
Waffle Balls.
I love Waffle Bowls.
It's like Lunchables, but with waffles. How could you hate it? Except if you hate me, in which case you're probably justified.
Jesus Christ.
And that's a lot of it is that Jables and I are both the type where there's a curiosity there, where when each of us runs into that thing where we disagree with someone, I think each of us wants to know more and has this sort of intuitive curiosity where it's like, no, it's not just because they're wrong. There's something going on here. There's a disconnect, and we each want to fix it because we both like to fix things.
I feel like most arguments just come down to a lack of like proper communication.
But yeah, potentially for sure. I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, Dave Rubin.
Oh God, sorry.
Guys.
All right, I'm going to run and go pee real fast. You guys say the words.
Oh, we can do words so good.
Okay.
Oh my
Okay,
God!
I'll be right
Don't
back.
bring us with you.
I can spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Those were words.
Yeah, I can spell it.
So it's and that's the thing is there is a perseverance aspect to it where you do kind of have to walk in if you've got someone that you can't communicate with or can't communicate with yet rather. You do have to walk in with this idea that, all right, we can get there. There is an end to this where we're going to understand each other. And maybe you don't get there immediately, sure. And if sometimes you just hate people, you can't handle them, and you just avoid them, and that's not a wrong move. But that is not having a productive conversation. That's not okay. I mean that is okay, actually. Like that's what I mean is that's an okay choice, but if you want to have a productive conversation with somebody, it's not necessarily going to happen overnight.
Yeah. And well, it took us what like a month before we could just openly talk with each other with straight up arguments.
Yeah, for sure.
And just kind of yelling at each other.
And that actually does bring me to something that I just remembered, and I kind of want to get Anna's thoughts on this, but maybe she can still hear us. If not, well, when she comes back, I'll summarize. But the other piece of this is sort of, again, general advice for having a productive conversation with people. This, I promise I'm not getting it from Sun Tzu, but try to really, before, like, this is just a thing to know about yourself in general. Try to know what you want out of a conversation, right? Because when you walk into a conversation, I want a fight. And I don't mean, like, I don't want to, like, punch each other in the face. But, like, if I disagree with somebody, I want to get into shit with them and really get into the nitty gritty and butt heads with them, because that is both fun for me and it's the best way for me to have my own ideas challenged. I like that. A lot of people don't.
Yes.
A lot of people
really
don't.
A lot of people don't.
Oh, that's another portion of productive conversation. It's okay to disagree with people.
Yeah,
because disagreeing with people is how you build up your own arguments or your own statements and your own beliefs and points of views. And it's not bad to disagree with people. Just to understand, like, if it gets to a point where there is no point of agreement in a certain subject, that doesn't mean you guys can't agree on other subjects.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can just avoid that subject entirely. Like, I have a lot of friends that are pretty religious. I don't get into the religious discussions with them anymore because all it comes down to is, well, I just have faith.
It's funny.
It's just something we don't talk about anymore. Yeah. It's just something we don't talk about anymore. They know my stance. I know their stance. We talk about Pokemon and playing the games.
I got friends like that too who are a bit more further left politically than I am, that get a little nutty sometimes, and we just decide to just not talk about that sort of thing and just how's this video game you've been playing.
It's interesting to me that you both have that perspective on it, because this is actually a big problem for me. In many cases, I can't do that. If we disagree about something, or rather, I have a very hard time staying out of a conversation if it's happening around me. So it's
I'm in the same boat too.
To give a little bit from my personal history on this, what will happen to me frequently is for those of you who have talked to me very much, I can be very, very good at being a conversational bully. It's not something I intend to do. It's not something I want to do, but it happens, and a lot of it.
Waffle talking over people all the time. What?
It's not just that.
But you say this, but I don't really experience that when talking to you. It might just be a force of my own personality or something.
Well, I think between you and I, it's because we know how to talk to Waffle. I think that's the reason why we don't experience.
Maybe, yeah.
Very, very possible, but to kind of continue to elaborate. So one of the things that I have found to be an issue is sometimes people don't like how I talk about an issue. What I have noticed, at least this is what I believe to be a problem a lot of the time, is I have a lot of stamina for these kinds of conversations. I can go for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and a lot of my conversational partners can't. And that's not a slight against them in any case. It's not saying that they're stupid. It's not saying anything like that. It's not even necessarily that they run out of steam. Maybe they just get bored, where they get to a point where they don't want to talk about it anymore, and that does not happen for me the same way. So somebody mentions a thing about politics that I disagree with. Somebody says something about gun control. It is very, very hard for me to let that lie. So when friends and I agree to not talk about things, almost universally what happens for me is we say, let's just not talk about this issue. And then I never bring it up. And then other people start talking about it. And I run into this situation where I feel like I'm not allowed to be part of this conversation. But suddenly the rules are different for them. And I get very angry about it. And it's frustrating. No. So then I jump right into the argument again.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, Waffle, fuck them. Get involved in that conversation. If you agree with somebody to not talk about something, but then they start up a conversation around you with somebody else, get involved in that conversation. That's fine.
For sure, and that is what I will do a lot of the time. But even so, it's just it's an interesting conversation. Let's say politics surrounding the election last year. If somebody asked me like, hey, what's up? A lot of my time tends to be consumed with thinking about ideas and playing with new stuff. So if I said, well, Milo Yiannopoulos said something that I found really interesting, regardless of whether or not I agree with it, that's going to start an argument. And,
yeah.
So how do I say...
Yeah, well,
how do I talk about what I've been doing all day, right? If what I've been doing all day is researching politics.
Yeah.
I run into issues where, like, people will... that was about a year ago-ish. There was somebody that I was hanging out with that he was saying, well, Milo Yiannopoulos calls for genocide.
Oh, Lord, yeah, I've heard that.
And I said, no, he doesn't. And I had my laptop on me, and I pulled it out. It was connected to the bar Wi-Fi. It was like, show me proof of that. There are tons of things you can attack Milo Yiannopoulos on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You can attack him on so many other things, but don't put words in his mouth.
Yeah, to not go onto the Yiannopoulos tangent there, but that does turn into an interesting conversation of somebody says something bullshit and you just say, all right, prove it. And you just put it on them. It can be a dick move and kind of belligerent.
Yeah, it can.
I did apologize to the guy because I kind of backed him into a corner. But it was still... I was frustrated that night because it was before the whole presidential election, and I was tired of people just spreading false shit.
Yeah,
and I was so
things were really
tense
around that.
And yeah,
so I think I figured out how I want to express my difficulty about not getting into arguments with people, or rather not like to avoid contentious topics. Because of how much I enjoy arguments, because of how much I enjoy disagreements with people, and I love it.
Same here.
My friendships with people,
fun.
like a lot of my friends, some of my best friends I disagree with wholeheartedly, and our most fun conversations are like, there's a friend of mine, this isn't doxing him, his name's Kyle. If you could see me, I'd be holding up my arm and go, seen Kyle? He's about yay tall, seen Kyle? He's exactly the right height for it.
Yeah, we're gonna be looking for Kyle while we're in Germany.
Yeah,
probably still taller than me.
Have you seen Kyle? He's about this tall.
Yeah, no, it's seriously though, perfect height for it to do that. Blonde hair, one blue eye. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you decide whether or not he's got an eye patch or something else going on. You guys can.
No, he's got an eye patch now. Yeah. Now that you said that, he's got an eye patch.
He's definitely a pirate. He goes yar all the time. But he and I disagree thoroughly about gun control. We agree on a lot of other things, but we each really, really like talking about gun control with each other because we love getting into those conversations. Like, we're yelling at each other and cutting each other off, and we both have big, stupid grins on our faces the whole time, and everyone around us is like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck's going on? But it's... So, because that's part of... I guess what I'd say is, I find the parts where I disagree with somebody the most interesting parts about them. That's the part where I really want to know about you. We agree that, I don't know, murder is bad. Great. All right, we're on the same page. That's not interesting anymore.
Yeah.
I want to know about the part where you think book burning's okay and I don't. Or something. Not saying anyone thinks that, but you get what I mean. I want those disagreements because those are things I don't understand.
Well, one thing I've learned, like, I live in Lefty Haven, Seattle. So one thing I've learned is that if you have common goals but you have different opinions on how to get to where you want, we're running up on the end of our time here, but
we are. How about you close it out with this statement, Anna? Get in some last words. I will refrain because I think I've gotten some good sum ups, and then I'll kill the outro music.
Anna, show what you want real quick, and then I'll do a closing statement.
Show what I want. Oh. All right, well, you can find me on Twitter and on YouTube at AnahataHearts. That's ANAHATA, unlike Nick, who says it Anata for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Oh, something worth noting.
We'll link you once the show's posted.
Also important for those of you in the Discord, in case it was not clear, there are actually two kinds of moderators in the Discord. There are the moderators that can kick and ban and all that stuff, and then there's moderators with a few extra powers, namely things like role management. So if you've been in the midweek and you need someone to, mess with your roles to let you back in the waiting room because it's been a couple weeks or something like that. There are 4 moderators, to my knowledge, that, aside from Nick and Jeff, obviously, because they have all the powers, but there are 4 moderators with the powers to do role management and channel management and other such things.
And it's called Moderator Plus or something like that. Yeah, all 3 of them.
3 of them are here.
Yeah, that's
so
Jables,
feel free to DM us.
Jables, Anahata, me, and the absent Sergeant Buck. We are the 4. That role is not a pingable role, but you can always add moderator, and we're the 4 if you need something structural done to Discord. Everyone can moderate and ban and mute and all that stuff. Like, all the mods can do that. But when it comes to, hey, we probably should have a 3rd voice chat channel or something like that, we're the ones who can actually act on that. So Anahata is online a lot, and feel free to spam her with all the stupid requests, and then if she grants any of them, Jables and I will glare at her sternly.
Yes. Anahata will create joke roles occasionally, so definitely hit up either Jables or Wafflethorpe for your legitimate concerns.
Tell me if you want your name to be a different color for like a day.
Yeah.
and then I will, as soon as I see that has happened, I will fucking take it away immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted just to finish up the point is that a lot of people have the same goals, and what a lot of disagreements come down to is how we obtain those goals. The goals are the same, but the methods of how to get there, those are the differences where a lot of disagreements happen. And with that, we have been your Lesser Saints of Discord. We love all of you. Please hit us up if you need to. DM us in the Discord. We will be hanging out in the Discord for a while. The YouTube Saints start in about half an hour.
Go watch them. Go watch the YouTube Saints. You have to.
Yes, go watch the YouTube Saints. Funny enough, Monsanto pays us to shill for another Monsanto shill. They pay shills of shills.
It's like a pyramid scheme. Jeff got us in on it. We're all making money. It's interesting.
We're all making money. It's all going right into that furnace, and we are all very, very warm in this.
Also,
real quick.
If you wish to talk to the Saints personally, join the Discord on Thursdays about 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can join in on Thursdays and join in the waiting room, and you could get your lucky number drawn.
Yes. Wow. Also, real quick, the YouTube Saints do have a Facebook page. Since Nick has deactivated his Facebook account as of like a month ago, I'm the one that's managing that. So if you have a Facebook, go like them on Facebook.
I didn't even know this. This is useful to me. All right, so we have brought you Not Caring About the Olympics, Trumpy Bear, Elon Musk being a supervillain and anchoring Aquaman and possibly also Superman and also failing to hit Mars with a car. It's an entire planet, dude. How did you miss? Yes. Also, rocket science and math. Yes, I understand it's hard. And
Magnus, how does that work?
And then finally, we had a very long conversation, which I think was very productive, with Jables, Anahata, and myself about how to have a productive conversation. And I think that went pretty well. So, if ladies and gentlemen, do not suck a gun like a dick. I'm going to play our outro music as soon as Jables says his last little bit here.
Yes, final note. If you think everybody else is an asshole, maybe you should look at yourself, and this song you should listen to.
Good night, everybody. See you soon.
Good night.
Good night.
Want to have some quality time with my son, so I brought him down to the fishing hole. Didn't like the feeling of that worm in his hand. Got mad, threw down his fishing pole. Said, that's alright, son, let's go and get an ice cream. Let your old man buy you a treat. But he didn't like no flavors up upon that wall. Started crying and ran into the street. He's an asshole, my kid's an asshole. I swear it just don't float my boat. Always crying, lady up to tell her what had happened, how our son had run away. She said, don't worry, baby, I will talk to him, and everything will be okay. My lady's an asshole, she's an asshole. Her assholishness is off the chart. Always perfect, always perfect. Made me wanna punch her in a lady part. I decided I'd go down to the bar and drown my sorrows in a beer. But the sign outside said closed for renovations. We'll open up again next year. That bar is an asshole. It's an asshole. Oh, the worst bar in the land. Always closing, always closing. Can't punch a bar 'cause you hurt your hand. I went home to forget about my troubles. Sat down in my favorite easy chair, but I couldn't relax for the pain I was feeling as my hemorrhoid began to flare. My asshole's an asshole, a real butthole. Needs to put his asshole self in check. Always burning, always itching. Made me wanna punch him in his asshole neck. Late one night, lying awake in bed, a realization came. Are there really assholes everywhere I look? Or am I the one to blame? Maybe I just do not say the things I should say, and I don't do the things I ought. So I took a good hard look at myself in the mirror, and this is what I thought. The guy who sold me this mirror's an asshole. He's an asshole. Son of a bitch said it was antique. He was lying, he was lying. Made me wanna punch him in his salesman cheek. I'm on a real asshole streak. I could open up an asshole boutique. I think the song has reached its peak. Goodbye, you assholes, see you next week.